The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
The purpose of today's hearing, titled Voices of the Vaccine Injured, is very simple: to give a platform to those individuals and families who have been abandoned, their injuries and suffering dismissed and forgotten. In addition, we will also hear from witnesses whose lives were devastated by fatal cases of severe influenza. We all fear death and disease. The appeal of a simple shot that can prevent both is obvious and powerful. Unfortunately, this strong appeal has overridden critical thinking and prevented rigorous cost-benefit analysis from being done. The faith in vaccines and vaccination policy is protected with religious-like zeal, and those questioning them are viewed as apostates, dangerous apostates, more than deserving of the scorn, vilification, and retribution heaped upon them. An open-minded review of the history of vaccination dating back to Edward Jenner, the creator of the smallpox vaccine, is both interesting and enlightening. Reading books like Dissolving Illusions, Turtles All the Way Down, and Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality, or a May 21st, 2025 Substack by Toby Rogers titled Mapping the Entire Field of Autism Causation Studies in One Article, certainly opened my eyes, and I sincerely hope will open millions more.
Well, good morning, CHD. It's Thursday, the 17th of July, 2025. We're live on CHD TV with Financial Rebellion. I'm back in Texas. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Polly.
Well, we have, of course, the man of the moment, our very own Brian Hooker, our Chief Scientific Officer at Children's Health Defense, here with us. Good morning, Brian. Thank you for being here so early with so little sleep. I do understand.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you so much, Polly, and Catherine and Carolyn. It's great to be here. I was already up. It's absolutely okay. And I think it's so important to capitalize on this moment right now and the opportunity that Senator Ron Johnson has really given us.
Absolutely. I think let's start by running your clip of what your first presentation about your son, which was so moving and so speaks up for all of our children.
My son requires 24/7 care, and his severe dyspraxia means that he is a prisoner in his own body, a body that betrays every time he tries to execute any intentional task, such as eating, talking, walking, grabbing, or grasping any object. He also suffers excruciating chronic pain to gut dysbiosis and neuroinflammation. Nobody wants to see their child go through chronic debilitating pain. My son will never pay taxes. He will never hold a job. He will never play baseball. He will never write a poem. He will never go out on a date. He needs assistance despite his best efforts and despite his best wishes. He needs assistance toileting every time. Society does not want to acknowledge vaccine injury, period. Our story is not welcome in the news media, and social media completely censors us. My family has been gaslighted repeatedly, and my son's medical history has become fodder for astroturfers' blogs, as well as the CDC researchers armchair quarterbacking his vaccine injury case. My son's life has been ruined physically and emotionally, and he is persecuted by the mere fact that he exists. Life is hard, but Jesus Christ is good every day.
I love that you gave thanks to Jesus as well, Brian. Thank you for that. So, Brian, I think that people need to understand, why were we there in the first place? Let's start with that.
Well, we were given this opportunity by Senator Ron Johnson, and he had had a hearing earlier regarding the COVID-19 vaccine and COVID-19 vaccine injury. But we were, we wanted this for quite a long time. We've worked with Senator Johnson's subcommittee staff for quite a long time, and he really just felt that the time was right. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of other things going on in the news, but he really, capitalized on this particular opportunity. He's now a subcommittee chair. He is in the majority party of the Senate. So, it was just sort of a matter of time of him being able to do this. And he's one of the few very, very direct advocates that that we have in Congress, really, period.
And what was the big takeaway from this? Because it took a bit of a different turn. Let's just run the clip where I talk about pediatricians and their bonuses, because that's one of our big bugbears. They're the frontline people that we go to with our children, and they do get paid bonuses to vaccinate our children. So let's run that clip, and then let's talk about what happened afterwards, because Senator Ron Johnson then came back very interested in that topic.
No. Everybody sitting here, bar two, vaccinated their families with catastrophic results. Over 12,000 signatures on those two buses of death, death, death. When will enough be enough? How many more buses? How many more children killed? How many more injured adults? And here's a question for you, the senators. Who is going to look after our children when we, the parents, are no longer around? That can't use a toilet, that will never date. All those things Dr. Hooker said. Our children are trapped at 29, 30 years old. They will never pay taxes. They need 24-hour care because of one vaccine, one moment in time. This is a national crisis that must be addressed. And I want to thank Senator Johnson and his team for giving us this day that we thought would never come, that the world could hear really and truly what happened to the people of America who are broken. And this doesn't just affect the person with the injury, by the way. It affects the siblings. It affects the extended family. One of us has to be a carer for life. So this has to stop. And we implore you, please, to follow us at children's health events, at least break down the truth and get to the truth behind the science of what is really happening. No more Pfizer-sponsored science. We need independent science, and we need our pediatricians to stop getting bonuses for vaccinating our children. So thank you to Senator Johnson and his team.
Then what happened is Senator Johnson then responded to that, and you beautifully answered. And then we'll talk about the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Do pediatricians get incentivized with percent vaccination of their?
Yeah, they're typically incentivized directly by HMOs. HMOs buy and sell vaccines, so vaccines are big businesses for HMOs. But the incentivization is usually anywhere from $200 to $600 per fully vaccinated patient, as long as their vaccines, a certain percentage of their practice is fully vaccinated. So some pediatricians can make upwards to $1 million or more a year just in those incentives.
I'm so grateful you said that. Okay, let's talk, because we've had pediatricians, have we not, talk about this, come to the bus, come to CHD TV and talk about how much they could have made if they vaccinated. So we know this is true, but the American Academy of Pediatrics slammed back. And in fact, Blumenthal gets a message during that hearing from one of his people saying exactly this. Pediatricians do not profit off vaccines. In fact, most pediatricians either break even or even lose money when they offer vaccines. Misleading parents about doctors' motivations puts children's health at risk and sows distrust in life-saving vaccinations. This is categorically a massive lie. Brian.
It is a lie. Pediatricians and we've had anecdotal reports. We've seen the bonus structure for different HMOs that and this information is highly guarded. It's not this publicly known fact. And, we basically, I had to have a medical colleague sneak information to me from one of the HMOs. And this is Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it's their 2016 performance recognition program. And if you have 63% of your pediatric practice fully vaccinated, then you get $400 per year per patient. That's what I was quoting in the hearing. And we've heard this from pediatricians who are honest enough to come on our shows and say this over and over and over again. And really, American Academy of Pediatrics, a front organization for the vaccine industry. They're an industry trade organization. Let's get this right. If for some reason they're losing money on vaccines, why do so many of them offer vaccines and actually kick patients out of their practice if they're not fully vaccinated? It makes absolutely no sense.
And Brian, do you think that they're going to do, because Senator Johnson looked actually amazed that this was even a real thing. And we know from conversations afterwards with certain people that I think things are going to happen in this department.
I really believe that the incentivization structure will change. I'm hoping that there will be legislation. I'm hoping that people from Senator Blumenthal's staff will hear this. We need to correct the record with them. They are absolutely positively wrong. I am going to submit that bonus structure into the record for this particular hearing so that we can show that there's actually proof of this, so the majority side and the minority side know exactly what's happening. And shame on the American Academy of Pediatrics. These are people that are supposed to be taking care of our children. And really, now who are we supposed to trust if we've got a trade organization for pediatricians bold-faced lying right in front of our eyes? We have the evidence. We know where the bodies are buried. It is time to just stop lying.
And this is why it's so critical, is it not, Brian? Because
Yes.
all of the stories that we've heard on the bus, literally every single one, it starts off with the lies from the pediatricians that your child will die of measles if you don't get the shot. Your child will go deaf of measles. Your child will die of diphtheria. You will get cancer if you don't take the HPV. Those lies go on and scare those parents into vaccinating their children with catastrophic results. And all the while that these pediatricians are losing it with the parents because they may not get their bonus if you say no or question the vaccine and walk out of the pediatrician's office. And as Senator Johnson quite rightly said, these pediatricians are kicking out these parents because they're refusing vaccination. So it's all to do with money.
It has everything to do with money. And, again, it's a crying shame. There is so much misinformation regarding the efficacy and regarding the safety of vaccines. We heard right in front of our eyes Senator Blumenthal talking about the measles being the boogeyman and incorrectly stating why the two girls in West Texas died. I've looked at their medical records. Pierre Corey has looked at their medical records. It's clear that they died of medical error, of hospital error from bacterial pneumonia. But AAP, just because you say a lie over and over and over again does not make it true. Vaccines really had very little, if not nothing, to do with the decline of infectious diseases over the 20th century, over the 19th century. It correlates with sanitation. It does not correlate with vaccination. I can show quite the opposite with statistics that we've gained around smallpox. Dissolving illusions does the absolute same thing. And we can see, it's plain as the nose on your face. It's plain as the nose on my face, which is a pretty big nose. But this is a bold-faced lie. We've been lied to for such a long time. We've been astroturfed. There's no way that 1 million lives have been saved by vaccinations in the vaccination program since the NVICP was enacted. That is just absolutely false.
And so it was really hard for us to sit there and listen to Senator Blumenthal's opening speech. And then we had to watch a video of a child that was apparently killed by whooping cough from an unvaccinated child, which, again, a lot of people writing into us saying they are sick of the unvaccinated child being accused of
Right.
killing children when they're not even sick, they're robust and healthy. It was painful to see that, but we have so many, like Carrie Bundy's stories, that could rebuke that, and we have so much data on all of these stories. But what did happen, which was fascinating, is that Blumenthal at one point did slightly change. I'm sure he's going to get told off for it. Talk us through what happened there.
Well, when we were talking about the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, and Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire left, she was talking in his ear the entire time. I think I was giving my testimony, and she has this kind of permanent scowl on her face since the Kennedy hearing. I think it's her new signature look. Then when we started to talk about the NVICP, and part of my testimony was talking about the NVICP, and then Senator Ron Johnson then asked me about that later, that's when Senator Blumenthal started to turn and, realizing that, hey, no industry should have blanket liability. Absolutely. This harkens back to his days as Connecticut's Attorney General. And then he softened and he started to ask questions. He asked me specifically how long we had been in vaccine court, which was 16 years. And so, there was something that changed in his countenance. And I'm very thankful for that. And I think that we need to capitalize on that opportunity as well.
We have a quick clip of Senator Blumenthal on that. Let's run that quickly to show the people.
I'm a lawyer. I'm very result oriented. And I am heartbroken to hear these stories. And it makes me want to do something. I am extremely suspicious as a lawyer of immunity that is granted in any blanket way across the board to any manufacturer or to anyone, whether it is any industry. And I would be interested to know whether others among our witnesses here today have sought to pursue claims under that program. I understand you did, Dr. Hooker, correct?
That is correct, Senator.
For some 16 years.
16 years, that's correct.
And you got no relief.
We had absolutely no relief whatsoever. Neither were we allowed oral arguments.
So maybe we ought to look at this system.
Maybe indeed. Tell us what you think will come out of that, because the other side are very much, can I say they're bought out? It looks like that.
Right. They are bought out. And but I think that where we are right now, we have to move very, very quickly. But I think that if there was ever an opportunity to reform or repeal the 1986 Act, it would be now. With having a Republican minority in the Senate, having a Republican minority in the House, I do believe that this is the time that that act needs to be repealed. We need to do away with the statute of limitations, which of course limited severely, the claims that my family was able to make in vaccine court. It needs to be a non-judgmental. It has to be a very, 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 very less harsh process if we have a process altogether. And, I really believe that we've taken away any incentive that vaccine manufacturers have had in order to make vaccines safe. Why was that done? There's absolutely no incentive. There's absolutely nobody really running the show. CDC's post-market surveillance is a huge, huge joke. They're in bed with the HMOs. They're in bed with the vaccine manufacturers, and they push junk science. They push tobacco science on us. Like this piece of crap paper that came out of Denmark the day of the hearing on, supposedly that aluminum is not related to autism or the autism epidemic. And again, these studies are absolutely abysmal. Ninth graders could take them apart because of the very, very blaring flaws. But yet, individuals in the news media will look at this and say, oh, the science is settled again. Hooker was wrong, whatever. And it is wholly unfortunate, but we do need to take this opportunity now.
Just quickly tell the people, what will the world look like if the 1986 Act is repealed? What will it look like for us, the parents?
I do believe that if the 1986 Act is appealed, then there will be a huge amount of recourse. And I think that there will be more and more media coverage. So parents that are making these decisions, pregnant women who are making decisions whether or not to get prenatal vaccines, knowing that maternal immune activation does cause autism, I think that more and more individuals will start to vote with their feet. Because this will be out in the public sphere. It will be available for discourse, and it will not be kept under wraps.
Okay, let's talk about Brandy from, where is she from?
MSNBC?
MSNBC, the news media that nobody watches.
Yes.
So she's on our back again. Talk us through this. I think we've got a clip, actually. Let's play this clip of Brandy.
There were anti-vaccine lawyers in the room that you could kind of overhear talking about something called the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, which is this program that it's like vaccine court. It's how people get claims for the very rare vaccine injuries that do happen. That court has been sort of flooded with people who've been turned away and their cases dismissed, many of whom testified today as a witness. But what was it like in there? It was super sad. Yeah. It was a bunch of people telling stories of dead or disabled children that in the most cases that I've researched that have gone through vaccine court, it's been proven that they weren't caused by a vaccine. But here they are anyway, telling their sad story. And who wants to look at a mother in the eye and say, we don't believe you?
Well, that's the point of the hearing. So there it is right there in that moment where they level up families that have had very painful experiences. And they're looking for reasons and connections to what happened to their child. So you have that piece and you have that platforming in a way that it should be problematic for a lot of folks. Having said that, you still have the truth that, as you mentioned at the end, the causal links are rare. And the folks who are behind pushing this anti-vax crazy could fit in literally in the corner of this room. So you've got these aspects of this. My concern, I'm curious if there was any conversation about kids who are exposed to kids whose parents don't want them vaccinated. As we get ready for the school year this fall, what are school systems doing? Because last time I checked, your young one starting kindergarten has to get vaccines, has to get vaccinated. What's happening? Oh, that's right. We've dismantled the Department of Education, so I guess that may not be a requirement anymore. Are we looking downstream at all of this to some extent?
That's so hard, right? Because this is sort of like a post-fact place that we found ourselves in. So, like, you know, the Democrats had two witnesses today, two people, one who had lost a brother or sister to flu and one mother who had lost a child to flu. And now they are vaccine advocates for vaccines. And there was no one from the science community. There was no doctor on the panel to fact check. Again, who wants to say you're not true? So it was left to these two witnesses to sort of say, oh, you know, that's not true. Or, you know, actually flu vaccine is incredibly helpful. And or these are, you know, hundreds of people have died. Children have died from flu. It set a record this time. And it was a very weird place for them to be in. It was sort of unfair. But we're in this like very strange place. So like, what are we doing? How do we get out of that? I mean, it's complicated too, because like you have people with most people want vaccines. Most people believe in vaccines. Most parents give their children vaccines,
right. Which is
but
why
they're
I
not
thought
there.
your reporting crystallized what makes this moment different, which is this has now gone from being a fringe movement to having people inside the halls of power who are ready to turn this into policy. Brandy Zadrozny.
Oh. Brian, you're not from the science community, apparently.
Evidently, I'm not. And Brandy must be very, very hard of hearing because so many of the things that she just, spouted misnomers over were covered in the hearing regarding the flu shot efficacy, which in some years does drop into the negative range. If you look at the range of values that they get, in some years, it has been shown that more individuals that got vaccinated got the flu that they were vaccinated against than did not get the vaccine. We know innate immune suppression happens if you're over vaccinated. And I believe that's really what we're seeing society-wide is we have a population that's been over vaccinated because the COVID and the flu boogeymen were going to come and get them. And, my goodness, if we can fit in the corner of the room, boy, we can squeeze together really, really well. Because if you look at the number of vaccine injured individuals, according to the CDC reports, this is not me talking, this is according to the CDC reports, it's 1 in 39 needle sticks or 1 in 10 individuals. So if we have 300 million people in the United States, then we can indeed, this guy at MSNBC, whatever his name is a wizard and a genius because somehow he can take that 30 million people and he can fit them into a corner of his little, ever decreasing sized studio.
Catherine.
So I just have to point out, because last week, Brian, we talked about the Epstein files. And one of the beauties of this hearing is it's the first hearing children vaccination in a post-Epstein world.
Right.
And by post-Epstein world, what I mean is there is an enormous number of people who realize they've been lied to for years, and you can pay attractive people to sit on television and tell you the most outrageous lies year after year after year. So, they have gone through this cathartic experience on the Epstein files, and now they're beginning to realize, oh, the lies can be this long, this serious, and this terrible. And they're starting to realize that, what you're saying absolutely could be true, because the difference between reality and the official reality is that large, and the Epstein files has proven it in a way that it's touched a chord that this should have touched a long time ago, but here we are. So I think Children's Health Defense has a unique opportunity in the post-Epstein world.
I couldn't agree more, Catherine. I think that we need to capitalize on this opportunity. People want to trust the government. When you want to trust people in authority, you want to have some type of anchor.
I worked for the government. I have no interest in trusting the government.
Exactly. I worked for Department of Energy Laboratory for many, many years. I would have no interest in stepping back into the government. Please, it is not what you think. And so, having this exposure, having this level of no, okay, we are being lied to. We have been lied to. I think that this sunlight is the best disinfectant. We know that. And, breathing more light into this, getting more information. I mean, the more that I study the vaccines, the more that I'm astounded by the level that we are lied to, and that we are in this intentional grand medical experiment every single day. We are the subjects, we are the laboratory rats, and there are powers that be that are pulling the strings that are trying to get us to take these vaccines, to take these therapeutics, and live out this sort of societal experiment.
And we know you've got to go, Dr. Hooker, because you're so busy. But I just want to say, Brandy, you seriously underestimate the intelligence of the people of America. That, you say we want something to blame. Well, we are out here doing what we're doing to warn other parents of the absolute disaster, heartbreak of having a child that was injured by a vaccine. So all of your comments are ridiculous. People are not vaccinated because they see what happens when they did vaccinate. They see what happened to their neighbor's child when they vaccinated. They are much more intelligent than you're giving them credit. You and your colleagues are giving them credit for. So we gave you that little bit of airtime, and even Catherine said you were attractive. So you should be happy with that. But really and truly, the nonsense of what you're spouting, Brandy, is extremely dangerous. And we're not going to give you any more airtime. We don't really care what you print about us, but our people do know that you are out there against what we are doing, which is speaking truth. Our children were injured, and you're going to have to deal with that because we are not going away, and we are getting more and more powerful by the day. So bye-bye, Brandy. I think that's enough on Brandy, don't you?
I think it's enough on Brandy. I feel the bile raising in my throat, so I think it's time to get on to another subject. I'm so thankful, Catherine and Carolyn. Thank you so much for allowing us to invade your wonderful show. I'm such a fan of you guys. I'm going to sign off now, and
Sign off.
you guys have a great
So,
day.
Brian, after you leave, I'm going to start talking about how this is bankrupting families and bankrupting communities and bankrupting the country. So I didn't bring up the money while you're here, but now we're going to go through exactly what you said, but we're going to go through the money and how dreadful the money is.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and Brian, thank you so much. You really did such a fantastic job on Tuesday. I was so proud to be working with you, and I know that all eyes are now on the Science Department of Children's Health Defence.
Well, we make such a good team, Polly. It was like old home week. It was like going back to
Round
West
of
Texas.
applause.
So already,
And you did
thanks
right,
so much.
thanking God in everything.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Brian. Okay, before we go to that, Catherine, should we just play, just to summarize up this segment, let's just play Paul Thomas talking about how much money.
Please. Excellent clip.
Okay.
We were losing $1 million, over $1 million in vaccines that were refused. Let me tell you about the other two ways we make money from vaccines. One is the markup, that's small. They don't allow a lot of profit on vaccines as far as markups, but they do this thing called incentives or bonuses, and it's called a quality bonus. So 2-year-old screening for how well you vaccinate. You're supposed to have had your kids up to date, about 80% of them by age 2. Guess what percentage of my population was at fully vaccinated age 2? 1%. The goal is 80%. So Dr. Paul gets an F minus. Basically what that means is not only do I not get paid the normal amount for everything else we do in the office, I get dinged maybe 10 or 15% off of those RVUs, relative value units, that are ascribed to everything you do in medicine is given a value. If you do very well on your quality measures, you're a really good vaccinator, you may get an additional 10% on everything you do in your office. That's huge. And really it effectively means a pediatric practice cannot survive using insurance without doing most of the vaccines, if not all of them. And I think that's the pressure that pediatricians are under. And I think that explains the blinders, that they just won't go there and look at the fact that these vaccines are causing a lot of harm.
The brilliant Paul Thomas. I'm going to hand over to you, Catherine, now.
Okay, so I want to talk about money. We've talked about money on Financial Rebellion before, but this really resonated me when I saw your first Vax movie, and we had Sheila Ely say, who had a severely autistic son, that a severely autistic child costs $1 to $5 million present value. And so if you have a child which is severely vaccine injured, not only do you have to have one person, for example, quit their job and take care of them, not only do you need to take the money you would use for family vacations or for educating the other siblings and reorient it, because we know so much of the healthcare ultimately you have to spend as cash. You can't, insurance won't cover it. But in addition, as you pointed out at the hearing, you have to provide for the child to be taken care of for life. And so we're talking about an extraordinary impact on the family in both money and also in time. So again, as you said, somebody's got to be the caregiver, but also the whole family has to orient around caring for this person and making allowance for the person who's severely autistic. And it changes the whole family ecosystem. I think you can tell us the statistics on divorce, Polly, but
yeah, 85%, according to the National Autism Society Association, actually, 85% of marriages break down with a child that's autistic or vaccine injured at school. And I can see why. It is super hard to stay together because you've got no sleep, you've got no money, your siblings are stressed out. I know that people that have lived this in our chat will be agreeing with me. It is the most heartbreaking, exhausting thing that your child can be diagnosed with. It's, someone like Billy or this child that we're watching now, these two twins here, you don't get any sleep. Autism doesn't stop at night when normal people go to sleep. It goes
Right.
on and on and on, and you do snap at each other. And that's why the divorce rate is so high. And it's often, and I love the men that hang around, but often on the whole, the men walk. And the men
Right.
that fathers do hang around, you are heroes.
Right. They're huge heroes. So we're talking about the economics for a family in both the impact on their time and their money, which is extraordinary. But then let's look at the impact on the community, because now you have social services and the school system who now are called upon to shift money out of the normal programs to help special needs kids. So now we're talking about the local taxpayers having to give up services or pay more taxes. But then let's shift out and look at the entire country and taxpayers. So we know that the HHS budget is now almost double the military budget. This is from an explosion of chronic illness. So we had Dr. Skidmore on the Salier report several months ago with his new analysis showing that if we could drop back to 2010 levels of disability, we would cut $500 billion off the medical expenses at the federal level. I mean, we're talking about something, the DOGE initiative comes along and says we're going to cut $2 trillion off the federal budget. Well, here's how you cut $2 trillion, $1 trillion off.
Right, Catherine, you cut out, and you were just about to say something.
Can you hear me, please?
Yeah. Say it again. You said, here's how you cut out 2 trillion, and then you cut out.
Okay. Here's how you cut. I mean, here's how you cut out $1 trillion. You go, vaccinating and you drop chronic illness down to almost nothing in America. That's how you save it. Now, one of the reasons I really started to talk about the money, Polly, was I had so many grandparents who said, it's not my business if my children want to vaccinate. And I said, it is your business. Do you have the $5 million that is needed to care for a severely autistic child? And they would say, yes, we do. And I said, does your child? And they say, no, they don't. And I said, and if your grandchild is severely damaged, are you going to put up the $5 million to care for them? Oh, yes, we would do anything for our grandchildren. And I said, okay, you worked your whole life, built a company, sold it to make money so that you could fund one unnecessary vaccine injury. And suddenly the light bulb would go on and they say, it is my business because I'm the family bank. So this is something that impacts the time and the happiness of the entire family ecosystem. And that's why, to me, this is something absolutely that everybody's got to talk about. You can't just say, oh, it's none of my business.
I know Carolyn wants to say something, but also, don't you at the Solari, you have like a tick-off thing. I remember that sheet. If you're going to vaccinate, you've got something on.
So we have a family financial disclosure form for the COVID-19 injection. And it was basically developed for one spouse. If you go to our menu at Salier Report and you look for the COVID-19 forms, you'll find it. We have one for employers, we have one for universities, we have one for family. But the first form, which is the family form, said, okay, if you want to take the shot, then you have to practice informed consent. Here are all the links you need to learn what we know about the COVID shot and what's in it and everything else. Okay, here it is. But then what you have to do after practicing informed consent, if you still want to take the shot, you have to demonstrate that you have the disability insurance, life insurance, and health care insurance and provision for care so that if you are vaccine injured, it doesn't translate into a bankruptcy of the family. You have to show how you've provided for your vaccine injury and death that won't destroy the family in addition. And what was interesting, Polly, what we were told by many people in our audience and subscribers is they would present it to their spouse who wanted to take the shot. And after going through the process, their spouse was like, how is this an intelligent thing to do? You know, maybe I need to find a new employer, or maybe I need to leave and go to another university. You know, this does not make sense, because if you look at the person who's trying to force me to take this, you know, and you look at what the downside could be, whether it's death or $5 million, you know, the math doesn't work for the family.
No, it's horrific. I know Carolyn wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just, this is my book that I just took off the shelf. If you look at this book, which is by Brian and Bobby Kennedy, they have statistics on all the different diseases and conditions that are a problem, that are much higher, I mean, significantly higher incidence among children who are vaccinated. So when you talk about the costs, what Catherine was talking about was kids who have autism or, you know, really serious, having to have caregivers and that sort of thing. But how much are we spending on allergies and earaches? How much work did I miss because my son had an earache? ADHD, all these things. And I think a lot of it has to do with damage to the immune system. So you get all sorts of things more when your immune system is damaged. But at any rate, it is an underestimation of the cost when we just consider autism. It's affecting chronic illness of children, which is skyrocketing. And a lot of that, you know, we have other poisons. We have EMF. We have poisons in the food, preservatives. We have all sorts of things like that. But a big portion of it is the vaccines.
Well, I think the main thing about vaccines, what we're saying is that one thing, if you do not vaccinate your child, is your child will never be vaccine injured. Yes, there's a lot of other.
Well, but there's something else. If you never vaccinate your child, your healthcare expenses will be dramatically less.
Yeah, that was my point.
I mean, you've done on the bus all these stories of the unvaccinated, and what you hear again and again is they never go to the doctor. They don't have. Not only do they not get sick, but they do not skyrocket your healthcare expenses. If you look at this guy, the average American family spends more money on healthcare now than they spend on housing and food. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and we're not actually saying that if you don't vaccinate your child's not going to get sick, it's going to get a cold. All those things Suzanne Humphries says are good, build your immune system. They just get over it a lot quicker. You don't need the Tylenol, which no one should be having anyway. You don't need the ongoing antibiotics that I slammed down Billy's first year of his life because I was so brainwashed into going to the pediatrician for absolutely every snivel that he had. You just are not going to get that. I see that in the unvaccinated. As Dr. Suzanne Humphries says, the undeniable health of the unvaccinated is something she's never seen before. She said she'd never seen health. She didn't even know health could be that good in the unvaccinated. Right. So by taking away the money from the pediatricians, the money, all this conflict of interest, we might be able to get somewhere. Will they do it, Catherine, Carolyn? Will they? They have to.
So you have an enormous pharmaceutical industrial complex. And the vested interests that are making money off of this are extraordinary. And that, of course, as we know, includes the media, which makes a fortune in advertising. So the number of people who are making money, and as we know, sick kids pay a lot more in healthcare treatments. And so you've got an entire negative return on it, people making money on basically poisoning and killing our kids. And it's a big, big business. So, that's why it's so important to bring transparency to the whole ecosystem. And then that's why it's important that everybody in the family realize, this is much bigger than just me or my family or whether I vaccinate or not. One thing I wanted to say, Polly, we had the Tennessee chapter of CHD do a wonderful program that they started called Mentor Moms. And, the first line of defense here is the parents. So what I've seen is if if parents can find other parents who've been through this question and can help educate them, it makes an enormous difference. And one of the things I would say to anybody who's now thinking about, who's pregnant or thinking about having kids, you need to find the people in your area who've been through this, who've lived this, and can educate you both on, if you choose not to be vaccinated, how you navigate the system, because we know between the doctors and the schools, there are enormous pressures. But there are many people who've successfully navigated the system. And if you can find them, they can teach you and make this decision and the process of getting free from the trap much, much easier.
And now we've only got 14 minutes or so left. And I know we want to talk about Massey and other things. So let's get on to that in term of the day. So we even have headlines that we haven't even done. So what do you want to do, Catherine and Carolyn? Where do you want to
let's start. Massey has just sponsored a bill to revoke the PrEP Act. So why don't we, we show this headline, but why don't we start, Carolyn, with you describing indemnification and help us understand why what Representative Massey is doing is so important.
Yeah, I want to first say, Representative Massey, his district is right across the river from me, and they're playing on television commercials. They alter what he looks like. He looks like the devil in the photographs, and they are spending millions of dollars to take him down. And this is one of the reasons. And he's my hero.
Can I just point out, Carolyn, he's been Hero of the Week 8 times in the Sallee Report and Hero of the Year as well, as has Polly. So this is someone to say, every time I feel depressed about where the country's going, I just go to his campaign website and make another contribution.
So tell us about him. What's happening?
What was the question?
What's happening with him now? Why are we talking about him
he's
right now?
cleaning up his act because he's a single man again, and he's looking very snappy. He's running. And there are people there are rumors that more than rumors, that he's interested in running for governor of Kentucky. So that's an issue. But he's raised, I think it's $1.7 million war chest for his campaign. So, he's very popular. He's a great guy. He's an MIT engineer.
Okay.
I did several interviews with him on the Sallee Report. He's been very interested in food and farming because he does have a 1,000-acre property. He built his own home, and he and his wife, they were both, his wife was, I think, valedictorian, and he was number 2 in high school, and then they went to MIT, started a company, sold it successfully, came home, built their own house, and then he became the equivalent of the local mayor and then ran for Congress. And he has been, I don't know anybody in Congress who has more integrity than him, but he understands food and the importance of nutrition and fresh food. And that's one of the ways we first got into cahoots with him on the food issue. But go ahead and explain what he's doing on the PrEP Act, Carolyn, and explain indemnification.
Yeah, the PrEP Act is the provision that exempts the manufacturers from liability for what their drugs, their countermeasures do, and that would include the COVID-19 jab. And what he's proposed is to rescind certain sections of the PrEP Act, which was adopted in the middle of the night after the bill, the NDAA, the defense bill, had been agreed to in conference, and they appended the PrEP Act. We talked we talked about that a few episodes ago, and the members of the committee had to sign off on it after the fact in order for it to go into effect. But what he's proposed is to rescind several sections, including the section that provides liability, and that would mean that people could sue for injuries caused by caused by the vaccines and the countermeasures. So indemnity is our term for the day, and I've got my Black's Law Dictionary in front of me, which it's a very complicated concept, but a fairly straightforward definition is the action of compensating for loss or damage sustained. To indemnify is to reimburse for the loss suffered because of a third party's act or default. So basically, in theory, these vaccine courts are reimbursing people for injuries instead of they're indemnifying instead of the damage caused by the manufacturers. But the fact is that there's not funding, and the way the courts work, almost no one gets reimbursed for the injuries. It's almost impossible to prove the injury. And as Brian said in his testimony, his whole group of people, and this was not the COVID jab, it was the vaccines generally, they didn't even get to go to discovery. So Brandy's saying, oh, they found them not injured because of vaccines is just not true. It's almost impossible. Very, very few people have recovered anything under the funds that are established by the federal government. But even then, it's our taxpayers who are funding any recompense of for the injuries by the manufacturers. And when I was a corporate attorney, we had indemnification clauses in most of our contracts, and the party that was more powerful got indemnification for, even their own negligence. And the standard ought to be the negligence of the other party. And the standard ought to be that mere negligence by the manufacturer in providing an injuring product, which is in most products, you can sue a manufacturer for your injuries, and even under a negligence standard, get recovery. So this is a fabulous. Many people in the MAHA movement have been clamoring for rescission of the PrEP Act. So Thomas Massey should be greatly complimented for finally bringing it up, and the 1986 Act also should be rescinded.
So I want to add one thing. Under the law, if you murder another human being, you can go to jail for life. You can even have the death penalty. And one of the problems we have in America is if a company murders another human being, it doesn't necessarily lose its license to practice in that state or to operate in that state or in the country. And so it is possible for a corporation to murder and make it economic. Worst case, they have to pay a little bit of money. And so we've seen a tremendous turn in the balance of power between individuals and companies. And we see companies adopting practices which are the equivalent of serial killing, because certainly when it comes to pharmaceuticals, trials and tests show that you are likely going to kill some people. And that becomes an economic issue, because now you're completely, if you have indemnification, you can kill with impunity. Not only do you not go to prison or do you not get the death penalty, but you can make killing highly economic. So this is the equivalent of giving a serial killer a get out of jail free card. And that, if you look at the actual statistics of what is happening in the pharmaceutical area, I mean, that is exactly what is happening. There's no death penalty for doing something that has a good probability of killing a certain number of people, and there's no financial ramifications if you do.
I just say it just reminds me of a prominent doctor, I'm not going to say the doctor's name, who told me that when this doctor was working in the hospitals, there was people being killed or dying on their watch the whole time, medical malpractice. And when that would happen, the other doctors would crowd around and say, Are you okay, doctor, that this happened on your watch? Everyone would be crowding around the doctor, and sympathy would go to the doctor, not to the person, not to the fact that they killed this person, medical error. The minute that person came out of mainstream medicine with the same qualifications and went into more naturopathic, if somebody died on your watch, you're going to jail and you're not ever going to have your license back again.
Right.
Yes, and they're doing this in the area. The Defender's been writing about, primarily sponsored by Bayer, the laws at the state level. They're trying to get liability shields for insecticides. And, this is just, we've got the 1986 Act, which provides liability shield for vaccines generally, and then the PrEP Act for the countermeasures for the mRNA, which is the worst, has killed more than any other so-called vaccine. Second, and the second worst is HPV, I think, Molly. Isn't that true?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's pretty bad. Okay, so what else do we want to cover? I want to just bring up, we have some news.
Yeah, there's one more story I want to cover. We talked about the wrap-up we did that we're just working to get out in hard copy about Plunder Capitalism, and we did 2 book reviews for 2 excellent new books on the private equity industry. One is from Gretchen Morgensen on We Are the Plunderers, and then the other is Brendan Ballou called Plunder, and you can find them up at Solari. One of the things I pointed out when we covered that is I don't think that the pandemic could have ever been as frightening, particularly the hospitals and some of the doctors and medical offices, if it hadn't been for the roll-up of the healthcare industry by private equity. So we are very concerned about private equity, and we've talked about the fact that the private equity is now in real financial trouble because interest rates are high and they're not getting the exits they need. And they are not making the returns that they thought they'd promise. So we just covered on Money and Markets, both Harvard and Yale are discounting their private equity portfolios and selling out because they need money given the changes at the university, and they made a mistake of taking up their private equity too high. So the private equity market is, and they're having trouble taking a lot of these companies in the IPO. So you would say that the private equity is kind of hung on their current portfolio. Well, what do we see from the Trump administration? We see a new headline saying they are readying a executive order to give access to the private equity industry to 401ks. Now, what this means is, traditionally you've had wealthier investors in private equity, and now that they can't get the exit, they're going to use broadly the middle class savings to try and get their exit. This is very bad news. It's a very bad idea.
And pension funds are also investing in this private equity too, right?
Right. Unfortunately, pension funds have become way too, private equity had better returns at the beginning, but they have huge fees. And now what the record is showing before they exit this new round of portfolios, they're not performing better than liquid security. So you're giving up liquidity and not getting better performance. It's unfortunate. But what I would say to everybody, this is a very bad signal as to the way fiduciary obligation will be protected on our retirement savings. I've talked a lot about how our pension funds and retirement savings have been compromised by what's happening at Treasury. This is now going to take it to another level. And I just want to put out a storm warning. Everybody's different, so I'm not giving you investment advice. But if you have a 401k, you want to make sure your 401k is protected from this if this change does go into place. So just be warned. The protections, it appears the protections from the funny business are coming down.
Well, look, Catherine and Carolyn, another great show. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for all that you do. We really appreciate you. And to our viewers, thank you for your support on Tuesday. Brian and I saw that, and you lift us up. And if it wasn't for you, I don't know where we'd be. So thank you to our loyal viewers that are there every single day, the same crowd, and we so appreciate you.
And can I make one prayer request?
Yeah.
I want to pray for Brandy. I want to pray for Senator Blumenthal. I want to pray for all the people who put themselves in a corner over this topic, because it's coming out. The truth is coming out, and we want to help them find their way back to solid ground.
And the pediatricians too.
Right.
Yeah.
No, nobody became a pediatrician because they wanted to kill children.
No.
That was not the goal.
Okay, well, that's good advice, and we should pray for them as well. And praying is, I prayed so hard before I did the Ron Johnson thing. I prayed so hard, and I could feel that coming through me as I spoke. So prayer works, my friends. Pray big, stand firm, and never settle, which I feel like is a big financial rebellion thing. Never settle. You don't need to. Catherine and Carolyn, thank you again. Lou, thank you behind the scenes as always. And we'll be back. Will we be back next week, or is it Meryl's turn? I don't know.
I think I think we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week. Yes, we will.
Be back next week.
All right. We'll see you soon. Now we're going to our unvaccinated story of the day. We're going to have a nice fun, but we're not live yet. We're live on Periscope. We're live on YouTube, and now we're live on Facebook.
All the phones.
Aren't they lovely on my phone?
A lot of phones. A lot. Yep.
Okay, now this is two families that have just clubbed together to do this story. Because I like it when the unvaccinated get together. I just think there's something nice about it. Also, because there's not much to say, because you kids all I can actually tell you the whole story. You don't even need to be here. It's the same story over and over again. All right, you're mummy to him and you're mummy to this lovely. Yes? Right. All right, so what's your name?
Jennifer.
And you are?
Rhonda.
And you are?
Jeremiah.
How old are you, Jeremiah?
9.
You've had no vaccines at all?
Yes.
Yes, correct. I've had no vaccines.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, good. And how old are you?
I'm 10.
And
for 3 more days. For 3 more days.
And you're nearly 11. Yeah, enjoy being 10. And sorry, I didn't mean to kick you. And have you had any vaccines at all?
No.
Nothing.
And I'm 37 with no vaccines.
You're 37. You've lived to 37 and you've never been vaccinated.
Miraculously.
Aren't you worried that you're going to spread your disease everywhere and kill us all?
No, that's my new thing. Unvaccinated somehow equals petri dish of disease these days. And I've not spread anything to anybody.
It's the most absurd line that ever. Isn't that really a crazy thing that you guys, unvaccinated, are a health? Yeah, you guys are so healthy. It must be. If I was a pharmaceutical company now, I would be panicking like crazy just watching you with your health. You two. Your eyes are straight, you're healthy, you don't have big dark rings, your hair's shiny, supersonic healthy.
Yep.
Are you clever too?
I think so.
Yeah?
I hope so.
I mean, when do you both go to school? Do you both go to school? Or are you homeschooled?
No.
No, what?
Went to public school.
You're in school.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting in class, do you just can't concentrate because you've got behavioural problems?
No behavior problems.
Do you ever get anxiety where your heart's pumping so much that you actually feel like you're going to pass out and faint, and then you have to get a brown paper bag and breathe in it because you can't breathe?
No.
Do you ever bang your head against the wall really, 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 really hard?
No.
If your teacher says to you, sit down on a chair, do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
Do you have any allergies?
Not that I know of.
No. I know. When you were a baby, between the baby and 1 year old, did you ever have really bad ear infections? You had to have loads of antibiotics.
I've only had one antibiotic in my whole life.
He's never had any antibiotics.
You've had no antibiotics at all?
No. Yeah.
And you've had one. How old were you when you had an antibiotic?
She was a baby in diapers and had a infection, like a staph infection from the daycare.
Daycare staph infection, that's it? Is that the most sick you've ever been in your life? Have you ever had chicken pox? You had chicken pox? You're still here?
Yeah.
Apparently it's a deathly disease.
No.
Oh.
She wanted them because her friend had them.
Yeah, and you get a whole week off school, sometimes even more.
She was 3, so no school.
Oh. You always need to get sick.
Daycare.
Yeah, week out of daycare.
I went to Mom's office.
What would you like to be when you grow up?
Chiropractor.
Boom. You know what? Good choice. Good choice. What about you?
I'm not sure yet. Either a dancer, maybe a chiropractor. I'm not sure yet.
Dancer, nice. What kind of dance do you like?
Everything.
It's a great thing. You're not in one of those scary. I never watch TV, but I'm in hotels at the moment, and something called Dance Mums came on, and it absolutely petrified me. There was these women screaming at each other.
I'm not that
I watch
mom.
it Tuesday night.
Okay, so you're not going to go somewhere like that.
No.
It was horrifying.
No.
Never.
She had a panic attack, had to turn the TV off, and then I got a Gardasil ad in the middle. Oh my gosh, people, you can't watch TV. It's far too frightening. Alright, so you're not going to go into Scary Dance Mums, whatever it's called?
No, never.
Okay, now why did you two mums decide not to vaccinate these children?
Go ahead.
I had my paradigm shift in chiropractic school, so I was vaccinated growing up, but I learned kind of about the risks involved, and so when I had my first child, who's now 17 and unvaccinated, I did, poured over the research and decided what would be best for him would be for me to breastfeed him for an extended period of time to help boost his immunity and make sure he gets lots of really good nutrients, and I carried that on with all three of my kids because it worked so well.
That's
all been
great.
very healthy.
Have you had any abuse or anything hard times, doctors telling you you're going to...
We were dismissed from a pediatric practice when my oldest was first born, right down the street from here. And I never looked back. I said, farewell, good riddance. Like, thanks, they did me a favor. I'd never been back to a pediatrician.
Ooh.
We go to a family doctor who takes very good care of us.
They are petrifying pediatricians. Stay away. Is that why you want to be a chiropractor? Because
my mom is a chiropractor, and it looks like she gets paid a lot. Because...
Did you hear that?
That's okay. It was cute.
Plus, it's nice to help people.
But at least, you know what, here's the thing. She gets paid, I don't know how much she gets paid, but she gets paid to do good to people.
Yeah.
And nobody minds that. When people are getting paid to harm people, then we have a problem. Or taking money and lying to parents about how safe vaccines are, then we have a problem. Your mum does good.
She does good.
Wait, what was the question?
Why didn't we?
Why are you vaccinating this? Why are you not vaccinating this beautiful girl?
I didn't vaccinate because I'm not vaccinated. I am a chiropractor. My mom's
You're a chiropractor too.
Mm-hmm. That's how we became friends. Actually, this group and being chiropractors together. But my mom's a chiropractor, and I'm third generation chiropractor, 12th in my family. And that's not why I'm not vaccinated though. My grandpa was in the Army, and my mom's dad, and when they lined them up, and the doctor went down the line, and as he injected the guys in the Army, he said, "Don't give this to your kids. Don't give this to your kids." And he told my grandpa that.
Really?
So my grandpa, who's not a chiropractor, did not vaccinate any of his children, so my mom and her 3 sisters. And most of my cousins are not vaccinated. My sister's not. My cousin's kids aren't. My kids aren't. My nieces aren't. So our whole family.
That's a lot of unvaccinated children.
Healthy.
Are they all healthy?
Non-disease spreading.
Okay, so of all those kids, there has to be one that has something terrible, like cancer or ADD or...
No.
Literally none of them?
No. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of us. 10 kids, like her age. And none of them do.
Does that not say something to you, peeps? That alone...
Mm-hmm. My whole family.
It's quite unbelievable, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And when we do stories of all this devastation and death, when your age group starting to get the HPV Gardasil.
No, I'm going to watch her friends. That's my fear.
And the saddest thing is those parents genuinely believe, because the bullying with the HPV of, do you want your child to get cancer? Do you? Do you want to get cancer?
No.
I mean, that's what they say to these poor parents.
What's sad is that you're supposed to trust your doctors and you're supposed to believe what they say. And when us non-vaccine people get criticized because other people believe their doctors, we're supposed to trust our doctors. So who do we trust? Don't you think? Like, I have patients come in all the time. Well, my doctor tells me I have to. And how do you tell them, well, your doctor, you can't believe your doctor?
Are you all part of an organization here?
Michigan for Vaccine Choice.
Okay, Michigan for Vaccine Choice. Everybody needs to join that. I don't care where you are in the country. You need to join it because you need to support it. Just like you guys need to join Florida for Health Freedom. Everybody's got to have each other's back. We are a nation supporting each other, not just a state.
Yep. We go to Lansing all the time. That's one of the first place we met. We go to Lansing and meet with all of our senators and House of Representatives.
You've got great people today. Literally great people. It like makes you burst with pride, you know, because everyone says no, because it's like you go outside and there's all these unvaccinated, healthy people, and then the ones with the injuries come on and just they're so intelligent. And they tell their story, and you know, there was somebody I interviewed just the other day who was in special education classes as a child. You know, they'd written her off, and she had a vaccine injury. And she didn't get any qualifications and left school early and had a really problematic time. And she sat in front of me and talked to me like a scientist.
She did her own stuff.
Because she did her own stuff, and it came from passion and love. And it shows you everybody's got it up here.
Yeah. Scary. What they're trying to teach us.
I look at these two healthy. It's actually the saddest thing. I mean, I look at you two, and I'm so proud of you, all of you, these beautiful, healthy kids, and you guys, and then you feel, and then just behind your head, are people that are dead from vaccines. And you know, joking aside, guys, you know, we've had the trolls out today, and it's just horrific what these people, and it's not their fault. They're just paid idiots. But there's real death going on here, and it's. You know, we're not all fortunate enough to have a grandfather that woke up to it, and parents that woke up to it for you guys. We're talking about real human beings dying as we speak because this lie continues. And that's why I was talking to Bella the other day, and I said, Bells, I'm more proud of you guys than anybody else, because you don't have to come out here and tell your story of your healthy kids. You could just get on with your lives, couldn't you?
Well, until I started watching the Periscope, I didn't think about what the people would say about us.
They love you. They love you.
I don't care what anybody says about us.
Oh, but our people love you.
The trolls.
Oh, the trolls. The trolls can't speak.
No.
There's something wrong with them. And here's the thing. We want to help you. I'm building centres for people like you trolls. So you come along and join in my little farm, and we'll all get along nicely once we all eat nicely and learn the dangers of vaccines. I'm not going to give up on these people because they clearly know not what they do, but they're harming people.
Right.
And these people are strong. You guys are getting lots of hearts. Do you want to see some hearts?
Sure. You want
to see how much hearts?
I know what the hearts are. I watch.
Do you ever do hearts yourself?
She watches you.
Okay, look, check it out. Let me just turn this around a second. Okay, there's your Periscope. Oh, now, can you both get in the shot?
Let me get it.
Oh,
there you go, Periscope. Now, where's We Are Vax? Here's We Are Vax. I don't know how to do YouTube. Can you see?
Wow.
They send them that way. They can only do them that way. And these people, look at them. See?
Perfect.
And these people, as you know, they sit here and they give. That's one of the most important things you can do is shower love on each other, and that's what Periscope and We Are Vax do all day. Okie dokie.
Okay.
So,
thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, we love being here, and thanks for sorting Toby out.
No, that was you.
Did you sort Toby? How many treatments did Toby get today?
You need to adjust her son.
Oh, somebody, that guy did
he
with
did
the dog.
Neuromuscular. Yeah, it was muscle work. She can adjust him. I have a broken hand and can't. You have to adjust her son.
Yeah, here's my 19-year-old boy. Never had any antibiotics.
Oh, good.
And I don't want him to have some now. He's like, Mum. Last night he's going, Mum, I can't feel my face. I was like, no, no, please, no, do not. So
we'll help him.
Yeah, I think, as you know, it's what every 19-year-old should do is come on this bus. I honestly think this bus should keep going, and we should just have 19-year-old boys and girls going around the country, because there's no better education than speaking to the
real
people.
life.
It is real life, and it's utterly shocking.
Yeah.
How do I sign my teenager up?
Well,
yeah, I know.
He can carry all your bags, help with heavy lifting. Mine's too little. Can't have him yet.
And it's a responsibility driving this bus with
know,
all the people's
he's
names.
driving this bus.
And he's doing really well. So far, so good. He's really, really driving well. But, you know, he was, I think, a little taken aback by, because he's just used to Billy and Billy's injury.
Yeah.
And we had a beautiful 15-year-old girl in a wheelchair with from the D-tap and the hip. No, what was it? I can't remember. It was HB, and he hepatitis B. I think he was, you know, really upset him.
Yeah, it's got to be hard.
Well, it's devastating because that could have been you guys,
right?
And we're grateful that it's not.
Right.
And it's horrific that this is still going on. So anyway, onwards we go, Papes. We keep going. And is there any more stories? Are we done?
Oh, no, are you kidding? You got lots more stories.
I have.
You do.
Oh.
We gotta let you get.
We gotta go so you can get everybody else.
Gotta let you get to
Did you
it.
hear that, Peeps? I thought we were finishing. All right,
No,
love
no.
you guys. Back in a minute. Everybody.
This and all CHD TV programming is made possible by generous support from viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution today to keep our programming going strong. Thank you.